What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Speaking Sessions podcast. I've got Karen Stanley here, and she is a marketing expert, rapid transformational therapist, and coach whose passion is to help women heal from childhood trauma and create the life they love. She is the author of the best-selling book, Attract the One, host of the Create Today podcast, which is a great podcast. I've been on there, and a founder of the Hypno Healing Solution, and author of several best-selling journals. She's living proof that letting go of the past, attracting real love, and creating a joyful life can be a reality for anyone, regardless of age, status, or backstory. She is a proud wife of the love of her life, a mom of 6, and she lives in Gilbert, Arizona with her favorite peeps. Karen, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Those are my words to my favorite peeps. Don't blame Philip. He didn't come up with that. But they are my favorite peeps.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well, that's podcasting 101, right? When you're introducing somebody, I always ask, give me how you want to be introduced. I'm going to read it word for word. If it's super long, I may shrink it down because I'm not going to sit here for 5 minutes giving a bio or an introduction to somebody. I want to keep it short and concise, but hey, that's what was on there. So I'm reading it. That's the way you want to be introduced.
You got to have fun. You can't take yourself too seriously.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Of course, I couldn't help but think about like the Easter peeps, which as we're recording this, or Easter's right around the corner and everything. And
oh, yeah.
I don't know why people like those
marshmallow things.
Yeah.
Why? Please, someone tell me why someone thinks they're good.
I don't know. I mean, marshmallows are already sweet enough, and then you add whatever sugar they put on the outside of it as well. I mean, oof, it's rough.
Yes.
Like maybe one bite, just be like, all right, cool, I ate a peep. Like, and that's about it.
No, thanks.
Yeah, yeah, pretty much. But I'm sure we'll get them for my daughter. She'll love them and everything. But anyways, we're going to get into today some really cool stuff, especially since we have a hypnotherapist here. No, we are not going to get hypnotized or anything, but we're going to focus in on how in the world do you get out of your own way in general, but then we're going to dive into the world of speaking, of course, being on the Speaking Session podcast. So really excited to talk with you about that, Karen. But first, tell us like how you got into this, because I know you've got this huge marketing background. But then we mentioned a little bit in your bio with your life, you've attracted this new life, the love that you have, 6 kids, all of these amazing things into your life. You've helped plenty of people through this. But what got you into this journey to start with the hypnotherapy?
You know, I'm glad you said that. The things that I have now did at one time seem completely unbelievable and unattractable to me. Like it was inconceivable that I could have the life that I have right now. And so I think that's really important to point out, because if anybody has things that they'd really like to create in their life and attract into their life, it may not seem possible only because of the beliefs that we have that were created from the past experiences. So our experiences have a way of getting into our subconscious and saying, nope, this is the way it is. Nope, that's whatever it is that you want. It's not available to you. Or another one of the most common underlying beliefs that we're not even aware of is that we are just not enough. We have been told by adults when we were a child or a teacher or a parent, or even unwilling, like not even on purpose, just accidentally. We have, ingested, we are going around as a child, literally installing everything we see and creating beliefs and around all of these things and trying to figure out what that means as a 6-year-old brain, as a 5-year-old brain. And so how did I get started in this was actually, for relationships, I realized that there's one common denominator in all of my relationships. That'd be me. So if we are trying to create something that we've never had in the past, and we must believe different beliefs and we must take different actions. You think about a belief is just a thought you've had over and over and over again. Then your brain says, oh, this is a fact. This is true. Or my favorite, this is my truth, which is an insane statement. The truth is a belief. A lot of the things that we interpret as a fact or truth is a belief that we have created because of the experience that we went through, right? One of my core beliefs of my entire life is that I'm so big. My grandpa told me that you're so big, you should be a boy. Literally when I was 14 or 15.
Wow, it's a especially great age to be sharing that. Not really.
Beautiful, right? I mean, made me feel so warm and fuzzy. I mean,
Yeah.
you think about what that does. It's funny, hilarious to everybody in my family. So big, I should be a boy. Everybody still jokes about it 40 years later, right? Or however old I am. And what that does, though, it can do, not necessarily 100% of the time, it does install a belief into your subconscious that you are not the right size. You're not the correct size. You are an abnormal. You should be smaller. You should be skinnier. These shoulds, we should all over ourselves. And when you're not aware of that, you attract all kinds of things into your life. You have a certain type of man that you're attracted to. In my case, it was big, massive football players. I wanted them to outweigh me by at least 100 pounds. Why is that? Well, because I subconsciously felt big. I am bigger. I am the average height of a man. The average height of a man is 5'10". I'm 5'10". The average height of a woman is 5'4". So I'm a full head higher than the average height of a woman. Why does that matter? It doesn't. But if you believe that it matters and you believe that you should be something, especially your physical body, there's nothing I can do about being 5'10". I can create more muscle and I can slim down and I want to be in good shape and I want to be healthy. But there's no way I'm going to weigh 110 pounds. No way. Because the only people that they show you in growing up in all the magazines and all the ads, 100% of them, they are all 5'10". And they're also 100 pounds, 105, 109 max. I've read enough articles. If any woman is out there struggling with their own body and really, loathing their size and their shape and they're tired of it, there's a great book called Hungry, written by Crystal Wren. And I'm so glad I read that because she's literally the same size as me, roughly. She's 5'9", and she starved herself and she was anorexic for years because she was told that she needed to be stick thin to have a modeling career. And then she did. When she was stick thin, she didn't make any money and nobody really, she never made it on any covers of any magazines. So that's just one example of a belief that you can have in your subconscious mind. And I realized after attracting all the not wrong men, there's nothing right or wrong about the people that you attract necessarily, unless they're really abusive. There's only the men who didn't want the same things as me and didn't have the same values of what was important to me. What I really wanted was a partner for life. I wanted to build a life that I had been envisioning. And so I wanted to attract someone who loved me and cherished me and supported me and was a cheerleader for me in all of the things that I wanted to do. I have a certain personality that I have a lot of different ideas. And I really had never had a partner that was like, oh, you want to do that? Yes, let's go. What do you need from me? How can I help? And I wanted that so badly. So I needed to do internal shifts about what I believed about myself. And so I was out on a mission and I created what I didn't realize at the time was a system for creating my own self-worth and self-confidence. It can't come from someone else. And after that, I was hiking with John. John and I have been married 8 years, been together 9. And we were hiking one day and I realized, I had visualized this moment in my brain so many times. Actually, that's the art of visualization, is changing the belief that it is happening and the thing that you want, in this case, my badass husband that I wanted, is on his way. He's also out there wishing that he would meet me. And to do that, you physically actually demonstrate something that you want in your future. And that was hiking. I wanted someone who loved to be outdoors, who loved to be on a mountain, who loved to be in the dirt. and not sleep in the dirt and be out in the dirt and take me to a hotel at nighttime. I'm not a big camper
Glamping.
per se,
Glamper,
right?
huh?
Yes. And can we go to the spa afterwards? No, anyway. So I attracted exactly that. And as I was hiking, I said, wow, I was just thinking about all the things that happened leading up to the point where we actually met and came together. And I feel like it is a strategy, like it could be replicable. And he goes, totally, yes, you should write a book.
Mm.
And I was like, well, I never thought about writing a book. I until he said that. So if you don't like my book, it's John's fault. Just blame him.
There we go.
So yes. Okay. Then fast forward 2 years ago, my husband had open heart surgery. So he has aorta. What is it called? Your aorta is about to blow up. I forgot the technical term. It's scary. Aneurysm, aortic aneurysm. And we didn't find out until late January. And this is 2022. And February, we get a call from the cardiologist on a Friday night at 6. And I was like, oh shit, that's not going to be good.
No.
And he gave us the news. Your aorta is about 5.5 centimeters. We recommend surgery when it's 5 centimeters in diameter. And we're panicking. I'm melting down. What does this mean? We got to get into a surgeon. Immediately he said, I can get you into this guy. He'll see you right away. So it's like a week later, we saw the surgeon. He's like, we got to fix it. And I'm like, wait, that means saw him open with a saw. And then you're going to put in a man-made aorta. Yes, that's exactly what we need to do, or you're going to die. And I still can't believe it. I still can't believe that actually happened. It did. The surgery was 6 hours long. Once they got in there, they actually found 3 more arteries that are completely blocked and did a triple bypass and replaced his aorta with a man-made device. And he survived. And he lived. He's recovering. I'm not doing so well. And it was weird. I'm like, this is why I was also feeling guilty for feeling bad. And I was like, this is not me. This is my husband has been through this horrible traumatic event. He's still, sleeping most of the day. I feel like I almost got a baby monitor. I mean, legit, because I didn't know if he was going to wake up. Every nap that he took, I was so afraid. I was literally petrified and full of anxiety and full of fear and depressed. And I could not get out of my own way. And then what do I say? Well, then you need to take your own advice. What's the advice I always give? Pick up the phone. When you're struggling, you're not going to figure it out by doing nothing and being just alone with all of your toxic thoughts. That's not going to help you. And so picked up the phone, called a few friends, and one after another, I found that my friends were suffering and also in silence. Like I could get them to open up, but they were really not feeling well, not doing well, really distraught about different things, completely different circumstances. And I literally just sat here at this desk where I'm sitting now in my office. And I said, God, what is it that really works? When you're struggling with the same things decade after decade, there's got to be something that actually really helps, really creates long-term ease from suffering and long-term change. What is it? And God told me 3 things. Blonde hair, British accent, Tom Bilyeu show. I kid you not. I heard it loud and clear. Like, all right, got it. Tom Bilyeu, love him, love his show. Who was that? I remember. It was a blonde hair, a woman with a British accent. Who was that? Really? It was just the coolest thing. I remember her. Can't remember her name. So I go to his show. I'm scrolling. I couldn't find it for a long time. Finally, December 2019, he had interviewed Marissa Peer. Boom, there it is. Now I remember her. Listen to that. Listen to other videos. Went to her website. She is now training therapists. She has created a method utilizing all kinds of methodology, including hypnosis. But that's only one part of the piece of the puzzle. Speaking of a husband who is a constant supporter and cheerleader, I listened to this. I watched, I learned how she's treating, what method is that she's been, perfecting over the last 30 years of being a therapist and helping people overcome such major things, anxiety and depression and eating disorders. She started with eating disorders because she actually lived in Hollywood, and all of the most famous actors that she said we all know, didn't mention by names, they really struggle with eating disorders because there's so much pressure to be the skin and bones, to see your bones, literally. And that's where she started. And I'm just thinking, wow, this is incredible. This is what I want to do. I want to learn this. And my poor husband, I go in, I heard all about it. I'm so excited. It works so well. And I just really want to learn this. This is what I want to do. And he sits there for a second. He's like, how much does it cost? You got to give him the bottom line. He's like, whatever. Okay, that's all great. What's the bottom line? How much does it cost?
Very type D.
And of course, the rest is history. So I spent a year in a change in training, and it's been so fulfilling because really what it comes down to is a much faster way. There's no guarantees, obviously, but it is, you can create change with more ease and with more rapidity. That's not even a word. It's called rapid transformational therapy. And I don't even really like that name because rapid to me sounds like it's quick, overnight, instant. It's not. It's not that, but it is a way for you to create change in your brain with more ease. And that's the best way I can explain it. Because we're talking about our beliefs, and especially our core beliefs that are created when we are young children, digesting all of the things around us and then attaching meaning to them. Like it means something, that like being 5'10" and 165 pounds is like bad or wrong. It's insane. I wanted to live in Denmark, where my actual people were. My family's Danish. And I'm like, every time I go to Solvang, California, which is a Danish settlement, everything's Danish. Everybody is Danish that's not visiting there. Everybody lives there. Danish bakeries, Danish architecture. It's the best. And I'm like, I'm literally looking up at every person. I'm not even tall in Solvang. Wow. So it's like my dream to go into Denmark. So I'm like normal, to have this quote, be normal size, where everybody else is the normal size. And allowing your actually doing this process of releasing that belief, any of them that you're struggling with, that are not helping you and not serving you and not creating the life that you really love, is so magical, because you no longer feel any attachment to that story that you had before. And it allows you to create permanent change. And it really is incredible. It's been so fulfilling and so rewarding, and so it's changed my life. Just being, I still am a client. I'm not only a therapist. I literally have my own therapist, and I utilize it myself because it makes me feel so good. It's regulating your nervous system. When you feel like that, panic and that fight or flight, we're kind of like always stressed out, and we're always like that fight or flight, tight grip. You don't have to white knuckle, everything for the rest of your life and try to change and like rely on your willpower and beat yourself up when you don't make all the perfect decisions that you wanted to make. You don't have to be like that. And it's really helpful to turn down the dial of your nervous system and give yourself that relaxation. And then you can install the thoughts and the beliefs that you really want. And those thoughts and beliefs create the habits that you really want to have, that will allow you to create that dream, whatever it is that you envision for yourself.
Yeah. And therapy is definitely something important. And I couldn't help but think it's funny. We talk about, every coach should have a coach, stuff like that, but I never really thought about every therapist should have a therapist, and just kind of playing on that. I don't know if that's necessarily true. I think it's 100%. Beneficial for sure, yes, but it's funny.
Everybody needs a little bit of help. Everybody needs a little bit of help. I don't care who you are. I don't care how old you are. We all need help. We all have patterns of thought that we would like to transform that aren't serving us. I mean, even if you're driving in traffic and you're, constantly frustrated by everybody else's driving. I've seen 80-year-olds that are completely out of control when they're driving and they're angry at everything. It's like, well, I don't know. You can rewire that. You can, if those things are not serving you, I don't care who you are and how much training you have. Everybody needs a little help, certainly including me.
Yeah. So let's dive into that now. I mean, there's an amazing story. I love your journey to getting into therapy. There's obviously a strong will behind that, a strong story behind why you're doing that and that why behind it all. But for us that, maybe let's start with maybe I don't know if I need or want to take that step to get some therapy. What are some signs that maybe we need to go get some professional help? Because I've definitely been where, especially more on the entrepreneurship journey, it's been like, oh man, I'm just struggling here. And just talking with a friend real quick helps. And that's like we talked about, that's a little bit of a form of therapy. Obviously, it's not legit therapy. And there are times that we should go get some legit therapy, especially if we have mental disorders and stuff like that. And there's obviously different aspects of therapy, but let's just assume we're quote unquote normal, but maybe we have some stuff going on that maybe shouldn't go to a friend. Where might that line kind of be where you think it would be? It's you've never been to a therapist before and you're kind of on that fence to go get that therapy help or therapist help instead of going to a friend.
Yeah, that's a great question. Hypnotherapy is different than talk therapy. And where we are accessing the subconscious mind and we are releasing old negative behaviors of thought and patterns that don't serve us. And those habits and thoughts and beliefs are creating outcomes that we wish were different. So if talking helps you and you feel great and you're creating everything that you want in your life and you feel fulfilled and, nobody feels happy. Happy is, a feeling that goes and comes. If you feel fulfilled and more often than not, and talking about it is all you need, great. 99% of all my clients have already done talk therapy, most of them years of talk therapy already, just like myself. And I really loved talk therapy. I loved having somebody who was not judging me for whatever stupid shit I did. I loved to be able to be honest. And I loved learning the tools that she taught me over the years. And after a while, I was still struggling with the same things. So I would say if talking about it is great, that helps you and that's all you need, that's great. A lot of people, that's all they really need is just somebody to talk to that's not invested, that doesn't know you personally, that you can just be honest. A lot of people have a really hard time being honest and just telling the truth because they're ashamed of some of the decisions that they've made. I know I was. And if that is not working, I would say if you are feeling stuck in any area of your life, and you have a gut feeling that it's there's something that's holding you back. Is it maybe self-sabotage? Maybe it's lack of consistency. I can do really, really, really well for 3 weeks. And then for me, I've always been on this roller coaster of having a really healthy diet. I'll be healthy. And then, month later I say, screw this, I want pizza. Not that you can't have pizza. I'm just saying for me, I would overdo it. I would always self-sabotage my healthy choices and I could go for a while and then boom, I'm off the wagon, on the wagon, off the wagon, on the wagon for years. I always struggle with that. And also, in relationships, if you would really like to, is something holding you back or keeping you stuck, or you don't really feel that joy of fulfillment in your relationships? A lot of my clients have anxiety from something, and every one of them, it's a different thing. It's the same feeling, but it comes from different things. One of them was actually about dating again. She was recently divorced and she was having full-on panic attacks. Another one was the same feeling, the same symptom, but it's about getting blood draws. She would pass out every time that she had to get blood drawn to get a blood test. Anxiety over the future. a lot of my entrepreneur clients, they have anxiety about what is going to happen, in this country, in the economy, in their, in their line of work, and just about business in general. It could be very daunting when you don't have like a quote unquote regular paycheck coming in. But you're able to realize where the root cause of that comes from, and then also release that former belief and put it in the past as something that you used to believe that you no longer believe anymore. It's so powerful. And then you just feel of more calm and more confident. And so you're just really struggling with just a lack of confidence or a lack of calmness with the challenge that you're facing right now. It can be really, really helpful to so many people to learn how to we're just regulating your nervous system and installing the truth about who you are. I love Marissa's book. It's called Tell Yourself a Better Lie. Because if you're telling yourself that you're not good enough and you're not strong enough and you don't have the right background and your butt's too big and you should be way less. And if you're telling yourself those things, you believe them, those are also lies. So why don't you just tell yourself a better lie? And a lot of times that white knuckling that I said, those just staring at yourself and doing those affirmations in the morning, if they feel like white knuckling and you don't really believe them, this is such an amazing tool to help you actually believe that, because hypnotherapy puts your brain in a theta state and it makes you open to suggestions where, like, I had a client that she just cannot stop eating chocolate. She's healthy 99% of her entire life. She works out every single day and she looks amazing. It's not about how you look. It's just, that this sugar craving and this intense craving to have this chocolate, the sugar, it's like, I don't want the sugar. I know sugar is not good for you. She knows that, logically, and she can't get rid of it. It's this afternoon thing. Great. So after, the session, she's able to undo that reasoning. You can find the root cause of it. And once you understand the root cause, you're like, oh my gosh, my happiest memories in the whole world were when my dad came home and we went to go get candy. Well, hello, you've implanted that belief that sugar is happiness, but you can also implant a new belief that sugar is for kids. And that's cool. As a grown woman, amazing, strong, gorgeous woman, sugar's not, you don't need it. And you can literally reprogram your brain to go, yeah, you can take it or leave it. It can be completely indifferent to chocolate. And it's incredible.
Yeah. And not to downplay on that by any means, but one thing I think about, and this kind of goes back to way earlier when we talked about visualization a little bit, Andy Frisella, both of our mentors, one thing that he talks about more in the context of visualization than hypnotherapy or anything like that is that, and this comes with belief too, is that you have to pretend, you have to visualize, if you will, that you are going to sleep. So what are some things that you do? You start taking action. You close your eyes, you lay down. You're not having your phone out. You're not, as much as you can, not thinking about the day, but you're pretending you're asleep. And then eventually you do fall asleep. And that's going to the visualization and changing that belief. We have to, that's a way to change it. So I was awake. And of course, you weren't believing and thinking about it. You just know, but then you have to start believing that you're going to sleep and doing the actions of going to sleep in order to fall asleep. And so very similar with what we're talking about here. You have to start doing those actions. So to make this more in context with speakers, people that are speaking, and most of the people here listening, they're trying to get better at speaking. They lack some confidence, or they're starting to get that confidence a little bit. What are some therapeutic things perhaps that we can do? What are some belief patterns we can tell ourselves to help us be able to gain that confidence to in ourselves, in our message, and the fact that we do have value for the people we share our message with?
It's so important to just redid my intro on my podcast, because I really believe that every story matters. Every person in this world, their own personal story matters, because you could be the one person, that one story, that one moment that somebody else really needed to hear. maybe they've heard it 10 other times, 10 other different ways, but it wasn't you. It wasn't your personal experience, and it wasn't you specifically sharing it. You could be that one person that really helps somebody else. And we've talked about this before, we're best suited to help the person that we used to be. And so first of all, it's not about us, speaking. And you say this all the time, Philip. It's not about you. It's about you are helping somebody. And so if you really, truly wanted to add value to somebody else's life, and it's true if it's one person, or if you are in a group of 5, or if you're on a stage with 1,000, it's the same thing. If you lack the confidence, then what are you saying? What are you telling yourself? What lies are you telling yourself? It doesn't really matter. I need to lose some weight. I should get plastic surgery. I can't be on a stage because I'm not the skinniest I've ever been. Are you worried about your appearance? A lot of us are. We are completely trained from birth to think that our outward appearance is the most important thing. Sadly and tragically, that's how we're programmed, most of us. And are you thinking about your delivery? Are you going to get a standing ovation? Are you worried about the outcome? Are you worried about the reaction? What are you really worried about? So the lack of confidence comes from your thoughts. And if your thoughts are lying to you about something that doesn't matter, really, does your appearance, does it really matter? Is it the wrinkles that you have now that you didn't have 10 years ago? Is it your sweaty palms, or maybe you have sweaty armpits? Are they going to show? Are you going to sweat through your shirt? There's so many things that you could be saying. And you can be that one person to help somebody else. So if you were constantly shifting your thoughts to what is the one thing that I could share, why is sharing even important? Why is telling my story even important? Well, I'm not important, but my experience could help somebody else. And shifting that mindset and then are you prepared? I come from a singing family. That's what I majored in. I'm a vocal performance major. And I've sung all over the world many, many times. And I never really did it easily. I was always nervous. My breath would get out from under me, and I was sweating, and I stood up there. Even though I was a quote good singer, I stood up there thinking that everybody was judging my every vowel, like every single syllable out of my mouth. Someone was looking, someone was judging. They were thinking maybe I didn't do that thing perfectly. I didn't pronounce it perfectly, that I should have phrased it differently. I was judging. I was judging myself. So that was miserable. That was never fun. I didn't even care how many times I got an applause or a compliment. It didn't matter. Because in my brain, I was being judged. I wasn't perfect. I should have done this better. And it never came from a place of joy, until I finally got one teacher who said, it's not about perfection, it's about excellence. And so you create your own excellence by preparation. And so if you prepare, so you don't even think about it, you're really in the zone, and then you're just sharing the actual, either the words or the music in my case, or when I'm speaking as well. If you're sharing the message to create joy for someone else, to help somebody else, then there's no stress. It's not about you. It takes it away from you as a performer or as a performance. A lot of times, I think we go around performing a lot, even in normal life. And if we turn that pattern of thought around to service, being in the service of the person that you are talking to, or the people that you're talking to, it takes away all the anxiety. It takes away the stress. Just like, I just want to help. So I'm just going to tell you, and I'm prepared. You cannot delete the preparation part. You can't just wing it and stumble around and, hopefully you remember everything. Definitely don't do that. That you're causing your own stress. So the preparation allows you to let go of the feelings that you may fail or mess up or miss a word or, miss a phrase, any of that stuff, and you're shifting to, and I know you talk about this all the time, what value can I add? What about my story really helped me And therefore, that thing can help somebody else. And you can't go wrong. It's not even about you anymore.
Yeah. And I know I talk about this as well, but basically what you're saying is like we need to focus on the audience. We need to not focus on ourselves. And that's really that mental shift we make. And I noticed for myself as well as for my clients, when we're focused on us, that's when we're not great at speaking. But when we focus on our audience and we're focused on providing the value, all of that comes out. And I mean, it's really anything that you focus on is what you're going to get. So when you're focused on the audience, like you said, you start thinking about from their perspective, what part of my story can I share that will help the audience with this particular thing that they're going through? And like you mentioned as well, which is, I mean, this is all great stuff that we need to focus on the people we used to be, or how we present our message about how we used to be and how we overcame that. That's going to be the best thing that we can do, which really goes back to all the therapy we're talking about with our belief, the change in our belief. Like it's kind of the opposite. So rather than with our message, we focus on who we were and how we overcame that. If we want to go to the next level, we need to look at what we need to change to become that next person. And this is all the way at the beginning. You talked about the relationship, your relationships and everything. And it's very interesting that we had a similar path there, because I dated several people throughout, one person at a time, of course, but throughout the years, I had dated all these different individuals. And there were definitely some of the girls that I dated that it was their problem. They were the problem in the relationship, something going on there that I didn't particularly care to fix, or whatever that may have been. But at the end of the day, it came down to it was me. I was the root problem, or I was the common denominator in every single one of those. And like you, focusing on finding that bigger man than yourself physically, it was very similar for me, where I focused in on the looks of the female and everything. And one of the things that I put off in each of the relationships, which ended up being the problem, was that I would wait to bring in religion. Like they would know I went to church. They knew like, and religion was important, but I wouldn't stress how important that was, because I was afraid of that judgment. I was afraid that the relationship wouldn't even get started. It would be over before it started. But then I started finding out that was the problem. And so it was me that was a problem, that really in the back of my mind and my actions kind of expressed this, but my words said something different and everything. But when I finally started to change and put that new belief that, you know what, it doesn't matter if this relationship starts or not, I need to be who I am. I need to state up front what it is that I'm about. So that way, when I get in this relationship, that's a filter right away. Either you're here for this religious stuff or you're not. And so rather than wasting each one of our time because we end up finding out we're not a good fit. So I had to take that mental shift and decide what was truly important there, kind of like you with the relationship. And so I'll kind of just throw it back to you with that, like curious to hear your thoughts from like a therapist perspective and everything, like with that, with speaking, all that good stuff.
It's so true. Really, if you want to be a speaker and or if you want to attract real love into your life, or if there is a certain goal, it doesn't have to be either one of those two things, right? So if there is something that you really wish were different in your life, then the method is the same. It really is getting super crystal clear about what it is that you want to create, and then putting in the methods, the time, the thoughts that create the new beliefs and the habits that allow you to believe that it's possible, and then allows God, I believe God, to put that into your path. And you have to do the work. No one's going to hand you something. You have to do the work on yourself, and you have to be really clear about what it is that you want to create. And sometimes we might have a dream or a vision that after a couple of years, you're like, oh no, that actually is not resonating with me anymore. And kind of we change it as we grow and we get older and we get wiser and we just we just are different. It's like at one time I thought I wanted to do an RV. I thought it'd be really fun to have an RV and tool around. And then we're just like, after a couple of years, I'm like, I don't know. I don't think I really want an RV. Like we both decided, I don't know. I'm just not really feeling it anymore. I don't think I want to do that anymore. I think I just want to get like a place in the country and have a little farm. And that's what we're working toward now. I mean, it could change, but if there's something that you really want to create in your life, really, it starts with being crystal clear and then and communicating that, speaking it into existence. You're not going to attract someone who loves God and reads the Bible and practices the faith that is really important to you, then unless you talk about it and you share that right up front, as you've clearly experienced, if something's really important, then you cannot keep it hidden. Because if you're attracting even business partners, not even romantic relationships or life partner relationships, every relationship, your friends, your business associates, your vendors, maybe your investors, whatever it is that you're trying to create, if you are not being honest, then who are they dealing with? Who are they doing business with? Who are they friends with? If you're not even revealing the things that are really important to you, your true values and what you really love and what really matters. And the more you speak that and be clear about that and be clear about your vision and your beliefs and what's really important to you, boom, every single person with those same values is going to be attracted to you. You won't even be able to keep them away. You will be a magnet for the same people who are trying to achieve the same things.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. It's like the rental car where you get this car that you've never driven before, you've never really seen it much, and all of a sudden you see it everywhere on the road. Or at least the color or whatever it may be. It could be the color, it could be the make and the model. You start seeing that exact same thing all the time. It's the same thing like you just said. We start seeing that everywhere. We start attracting that into our lives. And really, for us to be able to change our lives, to change our speaking, it all comes down to our mind. Changing our mind, changing our belief, changing our thoughts and actions is how we end up getting to the place that we want to be. But it starts with you.
Amen, brother.
So Karen, this has been really cool. I've loved going down this whole therapy journey, if you will, and everything. Really cool to hear this insight and really about the beliefs we have really dictate how our life goes. But I want us to get to our last question here, and that is, if you could only share one message for the rest of your life, what would that message be?
You literally can transform no matter what has happened to you. And we as human beings have endured some pretty horrific things. And almost everybody I know has endured some sort of trauma or abuse or just hardship. And you literally can heal from that permanently, and you can create the joyful life that you deserve and that you desire. And I think that that's the problem with some of our existing beliefs in our society. We tend to think that we're just damaged or broken goods because we've had possibly horrific things happen to us. As a child, I was molested when I was a child. Sexual abuse is disgustingly rampant. It's not even rare anymore. I mean, it's horrifying how common it is. And just because something really horrible happens to you, you can release it. It is possible. I just want everybody to know that it is possible to release the trauma that you're hanging on to, the horrible situations in the past, your past circumstances. They do not define the future. And if you're having a hard time and you feel stuck in some way, that's what I'm really passionate about, is helping people just release that, actually letting it go and actually creating that mindset and those joyful beliefs and that new life, that way about going through life today with more calm and more confidence and more ease and more joy. Because that really is the most important thing. It's just I'm so passionate about it. And it really hurts me to see people, just like I did for years, suffer with the same shit decade after decade after decade. And it's heartbreaking to me. So that's why I'm doing the work that I'm doing. And I just really want people to know that no matter what has happened in the past, it doesn't determine your future.
Man, you are
Promise.
so right. Yeah, we can definitely overcome anything as long as we put our mind to it and believe that we can, for sure. So Karen, if people want to reach out to you, follow you, see what you got going on, because you've got a lot of amazing content. The podcast is great as well.
Thank you.
Where can they go?
Thank you so much. My website is createtodaytherapy.com, and you can find me on Instagram at Karen Stanley Coaching, and everything is there.
Awesome. Thanks, Karen.